Tim, also known as long naps on the internet. Cube design is my passion, and this is Flashback, a series in which I'll be showcasing some old commons that you might not know about. You'd be surprised how many interesting and even powerful cards have never been reprinted and were therefore lost to time. We'll go through each expansion up until the modern frame, spanning roughly 10 years of Magic's history. Today, we will start our journey with Arabian Nights and Anthologies. Hopefully, you'll learn about a hidden gem or two for your Pauper cube. Arabian Nights came out in December '93 and was Magic's first ever expansion. It featured only 93 cards, 27 of which were commons, so not a lot to choose from. But here are my top 3 cards you might not know about. Number 3 is Gasban Ogre. Gasban Ogre is a 1-mana 2/2 that says, at the beginning of your upkeep, if your opponent has more life than you, he gains control of Gasban Ogre. Which doesn't sound great, but hear me out. If you don't have any life gain in your cube, and this is basically a racing situation, Gasban Ogre is probably the best 1-drop you can play in green. Number 2 is Desert, which is a land that taps for colorless, or can tap to deal 1 damage to target attacking creature at the end of the combat step. So unfortunately, while Desert can pick off 1/1 tokens while they're attacking, it can still kill them after they dealt damage. So this card is great because while it can tap for mana, it can also ensure that you have some trick up your sleeve if your opponent starts attacking and you don't have any good blocks. And now for number 1, Rook Egg, one of my favorite cards in the Pauper format, which was printed as a common in Arabian Nights and later reprinted as a rare in 8th and 9th edition. Rook Egg is a 4-mana 0/3 bird egg, which when it dies creates a 4/4 red bird creature token with flying at the beginning of the next end step. So right away you can see the connection to Dragon Egg, which was printed later and features a very similar effect. Rook Egg slots very well into your red sacrifice theme. You can play this alongside Boggart Dragonheart or Dark Dweller Oracle to be sure to get the 4/4 token on turn 4. Now let's move on to Antiquities, Magic's second expansion, which came out in March of '94. It featured 102 cards, 28 of which were commons. So again, we don't have a lot to choose from, but here are my top 3 picks for the Pauper format that you might not have heard of. Number 3 is Priest of Yawgmoth, a black 2-mana 1/2 creature Phyrexian human cleric that can tap and sacrifice an artifact to add an amount of black mana equal to the sacrificed artifact's mana value. This card can slot right into your artifact theme and pairs very well with affinity cards, of which we have a lot of in the Pauper format. Number 2 is Orcish Mechanics, a red 3-mana 1/1 orc that can tap and sacrifice an artifact to deal 2 damage to any target. Thankfully, we have the Oracle text on Scryfall because whatever was printed on the original printing is almost unintelligible. This card used to be a top pick for my artifact-themed Pauper cube. It was able to turn all your artifacts into direct damage or removal for your opponent's creatures. When Dominaria came out in 2018, we got a nice throwback to the original Orcish Mechanics with a new updated version in Orcish Vandal. Orcish Vandal has basically the same text and just costs 1 mana less to cast. Still, Orcish Mechanics might be a nice and versatile second copy for your cube. Now, before we get to number 1, I would like to give an honorable mention to Sage of Latnam, which was printed first in Antiquities as a common and was later reprinted as a rare and an uncommon even in Dominaria. Sage of Latnam is a blue creature that costs 2 mana, is a 1/2 and can tap and sacrifice an artifact to draw your card. It might probably be the best repeatable way to get value out of your artifacts. But now at number 1, we have Drafna's Restoration, a blue 1-mana sorcery that reads, put any number of target artifact cards from target player's graveyard on top of their library in any order. While initially you might think that Drafna's Restoration puts you down a card, it can actually set up the top of your library for you to draw a lot of cards one after the other. For example, you might be able to put Prophetic Prism on your top of your library and with it draw into a Chromatic Star, and with it draw into a Sky Scanner, and just keep going and get all these artifacts back into your hand and back into play. And all of that for just 1 mana. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's the start of a series in which I will be going through the entire history of Magic's expansions and showcasing all the great commons you might have never heard about. If you enjoy this type of content, please like and subscribe to get notified about upcoming videos. See you next time.